Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, where knowledge meets financial freedom. We're here to break down the world of Bitcoin. No fluff, no hype, just real talk about how this digital asset is reshaping the future of money.
Seconds ago. Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. 9 p.m. when I'm not sick, Sunday through Thursday, sometimes on Friday. Sorry about missing Sunday. I was traveling, could not get good reception. And then yesterday I was just sick. But I'm feeling much better now. Thank y'all for asking. All right, so this episode is going to be a little bit different, but still very relevant to Bitcoin. I watched Jack Mallers' podcast. By the way, if you haven't watched it, if you're not watching his 6 p.m. Eastern podcast, you should. Really brilliant guy. Love to hear him talk. I love to hear his depth on economics, especially U.S. economy. Global economy, and has a good head on his shoulders and good understanding of the macro finance of the world, the global economy. And for those of you who don't know, he is the founder of Strike, a platform, Bitcoin only exchange that you can buy Bitcoin and you can buy every hour. You can set dollar cost averaging on every day, every week, whatever. It doesn't mess with any other cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, meme coin, none of that stuff. Bitcoin only, BTC. So he puts on a podcast. By the way, get your Bitcoin from him or River, one of these Bitcoin only exchanges, please. Don't contribute to the chaos at the casinos, at Coinbase and the like. And then they encourage you to hold your own keys, but they do have a special product coming out. It's where you can use your Bitcoin as collateral to back a loan, so you don't have to sell your Bitcoin when you really need to sell your Bitcoin. And I agree with him. Nobody really wants to sell their Bitcoin. They kind of have to sell their Bitcoin because of some dire situation. It's a very liquid asset. They need the money. It was there for rainy days, and it's a rainy day. So but with a Bitcoin backed loan, instead of selling it, you could just use it as collateral, get your money, and then the Bitcoin can appreciate in value much quicker than the loan principal will grow, with your payments and stuff. So you can roll your payments back into it and just grow the principal. So anyway, he'll have that coming out. 2 episodes ago, he did a really good explanation of that. But that's not what this show is about. This show is about the All In podcast. I did a commentary, my first commentary, so far my only commentary, on the All In podcast when they had a guest that is really a part of their show, David Sachs. And he spoke now he's the crypto czar in the Trump administration. And he is, I included, when I heard that they were going to include crypto, I was like, oh crap, this is my worst nightmare. Not worst nightmare, but I had hoped that David Sachs, being a technologist, being on the programming and software side, being part of the PayPal mafia, that if anybody has a chance of really not understanding Bitcoin at a deep level, could be. I wouldn't be surprised if David Sachs understood it at a deep level, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he was like, we need Ethereum and we need Solana and we need Polkadot and we need all these other shit coins out there. That wouldn't have shocked me either. So I don't know. I gave him a 50-50 chance, and I was rooting for him to be to understand Bitcoin at a deep level. And boy, he did not disappoint. I did some commentary on it. I really think that through David Sachs and a few others, that Trump may be getting really good advice and understanding. We also know that Michael Saylor was at the White House not too long ago speaking. And so we had always thought there's probably just as good of a chance that this is going to be a pro crypto, pro meme coin, pro shit coin. And Bitcoin was just one of the guys in that crowd. Now, we all know it's not. We all know in Bitcoin that there's Bitcoin, and then there's everything else. Did you know David Sachs said those exact words in the All In podcast? There's Bitcoin, and then there's everything else. He differentiated Bitcoin for 25 minutes and talked about limited supply. He talked about digital gold. He talked about the Bitcoin reserve, that the United States isn't going to sell any of their Bitcoin, that it's decentralized, that it has not been hacked. And he spoke as if he was like at one of the big, like at BitBlock Boom, or one of these, OG Bitcoiners that understands it, similar to Michael Saylor. Maybe he doesn't have Saylor's understanding or Jeff Booth's understanding, but I was pleased with everything he said about Bitcoin. There was nothing that, maybe I missed something, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he said anything that any Bitcoin wouldn't be excited about, except I know a lot of Bitcoiners that are like, Bitcoin's for the people. Nation states shouldn't get in it. City states shouldn't get in it. Businesses, it's just for the individual. And so some of these guys are my friends. I see their point. Okay. I mean, I'm of the variety, Bitcoin's for everybody. Bitcoin's for every church. Bitcoin's for every business. Bitcoin's for every main street, small business, restaurant, for every city, for every nonprofit, for every nation state, for every village, for every child, for anybody that wants to use Bitcoin. If you can figure out how to download a wallet and get on exchange and trade your whatever for Bitcoin, fiat, and you got Bitcoin. My question is to those that think it's not for anybody but the people, or maybe want certain people not to be in Bitcoin, how do you plan on stopping it? The network doesn't care that you care. The network doesn't care. The Bitcoin network is going to verify a transaction, period, end of story. And that's the beauty of it, is that come one, come all. Even thieves are here, and we can't kick them out. Look, if you got a problem with the US, well, shouldn't you first have a problem with Bitcoin thieves, people that actually convince people to give them their 12-word seed phrase? Like, you want an enemy? Go fight that one. There's one that's never going to go away. Hackers, scammers. So they're going to be in here always. They're one among us. Here they are. That's the adopted kids in the back, taking Bitcoin from anybody that's foolish enough to not have enough operational security to secure their Bitcoin, or maybe it's their day one or week one and they just don't know any better. And a lot of people lose Bitcoin that way. It's a hardworking bunch, I can tell you. If anything, I'd like to thank all these scammers out there for hardening the network, making everyone's operational security, and graduating more and more freshman class Bitcoiners from the School of Hard Knots, brought to you by, I don't want to degrade any nations that might be having call centers that do this shit. We all know where you are. You're definitely not, I mean, you might be in Louisiana, but we don't think you're in Louisiana. All right, back on track here. David Sachs, All In podcast. I'm watching Jack Mahler's 6 p.m. yesterday, sitting in the comment section waiting for it to come on. Everybody's like, did you see the All In podcast? Howard Lutnick. And I'm like, what'd I miss? I didn't see it. I start watching, and honestly, guys, I don't even know who Howard Lutnick was. I feel like an idiot. All of my conservative Fox News friends, Bitcoiners and such, they're probably like, of course he's this, this, and this. I think he's obviously in the cabinet. I think he's the cabinet head guy. What do you call it? Chief of staff. And apparently he's responsible. So go watch the All In podcast with Howard Lutnick. And the reason I'm telling you this on a Bitcoin show is because the economy is getting ready to boom here in the US. They're going to usher in a lot of wealth. They're going to make us wealth. They're cutting fraud and spending. That's healthy for the economy. Now, look, I know some of this money, if there was $1 trillion in waste, fraud, and abuse that went out to just shysters, eventually all that money makes its way to Walmart, to Amazon, to McDonald's, to, doesn't matter, Chipotle is going to be selling burritos out of the money that was fraudulently acquired, that was stolen, that was taken, that was abused, our taxpayers. They still trickle it down to your gardener, and your gardener goes and buys whatever at the grocery store. So this was still felt inside of the economy. Now, we anticipate that a quarter of the national, the GDP was that money. And as Jack Mallers and many others say, there's your liquidity drying up. So when you've got a quarter of the US economy being slowed down, ripped out, clawed back through everything Elon Musk is doing, yes, overall good for the economy. Short-term pain is you just yanked half maybe a quarter of the liquidity out of the market. So there's going to be some short-term pain. But to balance the budget, if you don't want this printing press to go crazy, to balance the budget, you got to cut expenses and you got to make more money. Okay. And Howard Lutnick is the make more money side of the equation. Elon Musk is the cut expenses side of the equation. And he gives a great story on how Elon got really pulled into this by Howard Lutnick. And you should listen to it. It's comical. This guy's a great storyteller, very entertaining. One of the most entertaining podcasts I've ever watched. Howard Lutnick is just a powerhouse speaker, storyteller, and he is volunteering his time, I think, with most of the president's staff. I don't think any of them get paid nothing. They are literally just helping America out. And these are powerhouse businessmen that know how to turn around a business. Like Elon Musk, what he did for X was a complete turnaround. Failing business, bloated, everybody working from home, 8,000 employees, hadn't made an update in forever, was probably the bastard child of all the social medias. As far as updating tech features, it was just going nowhere. It was just a big censorship platform. And then all of a sudden Musk comes in, overpays it by 22 billion, doubles, $44 billion. And then he proceeds to fire 80% of the staff, and he runs the company with 20%, and it's actually improving. It's getting more functionality. It's got now the greatest AI large language model through Grok on the internet. I mean, and it's like the news hub of planet Earth, the most downloaded app. And I mean, just turning it around. So he comes right off of that, and Lutnick's like, "Hey, you need to get over here and do the same thing to the U.S. government." And he's like, "Yep, I'll fire 80% kind of thing." And he's like, "Well, I can only figure out how you can do 50 legally." And so anyway, they're going at it. You do to the U.S. government what you just did to Twitter, turned it into X. I need you to save us $1 trillion. I'm going to go make $1 trillion through tariffs by making the the United States, a place that is treated fairly. So if you want to do business in China, in America, you pay a tariff. All that tariff goes to the external revenue service. I love that, not the internal revenue service. And then that's going to incentivize people to come build shop in here, which I think they're up to almost $500 billion or $1 trillion worth of announcements of big companies wanting to, build factories here in the United States. Apple was a big one. NVIDIA was a big one. And they just had a big announcement by Hyundai in Louisiana, my home state. Saw my boys up there. Shout out to Ascension Parish. Shout out to Ricky Compton, friend of mine that works for the Ascension Parish. And he saw his parish president up there with Trump, just announcing that big steel plant in Louisiana. So business is going to be booming, I think, for many, many decades to come. And on top of all this, these guys are announcing our asset, the new asset class. We are claiming king, declaring king. We just had a coronation that I don't think anybody's talking about. Here's the coronation. Trump and the US government just coronated Bitcoin king. King asset among all assets. No longer the bastard child. This is like David and Goliath. David steps up and now he's king of the kingdom. So all the other asset class can take a back seat because I don't see the United States holding for long anything but the apex asset, Bitcoin. And these other assets can now take a back seat to the ruling champion that can send funds 24/7 anywhere on earth without permission, without government overreach, for just a few nickels. Verified every 10 minutes. TikTok next block has not been broken. 15 years uptime. This is the greatest asset ever discovered by man. And the largest economy in the history of existence just said, we're not selling. Holy shit, this is big news. And then that economy is looking for ways tax neutral to buy Bitcoin. And there's a man on the All In podcast that just said, I'm going to bring $1 billion worth of business through the external revenue service. That's not, that's pretty tax neutral right there. Tariff money coming in can be used to purchase Bitcoin. And Frank, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to pull Frank's. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Telegram. This is a Wall Street analyst, buddy of mine. And he listed out the other day all the different ways that the US government can buy Bitcoin in a neutral way, a tax neutral way. Okay. So basically you can't charge people tax money and then buy, here we go. Wall Street analysts. All right. Here we go. All right. So this is from Frank Doyle. He's been on my show, so I hope he doesn't mind. Frank, don't sue me because I'm mentioning your name for any reason. You've been on my show before. I'm just messing with you. Command plus. I'm blind here, so I gotta. All right. This is how the U.S. government can buy Bitcoin. There are several creative and realistic paths that could lead to a substantial Bitcoin stockpile. Number one, Trump should accept BTC in the strategic Bitcoin reserve or the gold card. So if you, at the recording of the All In podcast, Trump sold 1,000 gold cards, green cards, gold cards, right? Remember all that? $5 million each. Go put 3 zeros behind 5 million. And what do you get? That's right. $5 billion in one day. He sells 1 million of those at 50. That's 5 trillion. 10 million. That's 50 trillion. There's 36, 37 million people on planet Earth that aren't U.S. citizens that can afford and would want, if just 1 million of them, if a third of them, that's 10 million, that's $50 trillion. We're completely out of debt. Paid off then. And so if he pays off that, then all that can be rolled into Bitcoin. Moving on. Fund BTC buys with profits from seized crypto sales. Okay. That David Sachs already said. Trade U.S. Treasury for BTC with major institutions. I don't even know what that means. Brain's not working well enough to explain it. Sell off government waste via Doge to fund BTC purchases. Launch Bitcoin-backed government bonds. Reward miners for selling BTC to the government. Settle tax debts with BTC payments. Partner with private firms for strategic BTC acquisitions. Use a 2% Bitcoin reward card. Morgan, this is your idea, Morgan Stewart. What if the U.S. government, they have what? I don't know how many, 1 million Bitcoin. I need to go look that up. Somebody find out how many credit cards the U.S. government has. I think it's some crazy number, 500,000 or 1 million. I could be way off, but there's 5 million government employees. It wouldn't shock me if 1 out of every 5 had a USA credit card, debit card, whatever, credit card that they can swipe. I think the limits are 10,000. So what if they used all of those cards made and gave a 2% Bitcoin reward for every card swipe, just like you do, go buy gas, get 4%, groceries, 2%, airplane tickets, 3%. So if you buy $1,000 airplane ticket, you get $30 as your 3% cash back. Well, did you know there's cards that will give, instead of cash back, they give Bitcoin back? So imagine the entire US government card swipe, 2% of that being converted to Bitcoin. That's a good idea. And that doesn't cost the US government anything. Might cost some credit card company a big customer. I'm sure they'll have something to say about that. But that's a great idea. Allocate surplus from the Treasury ESF to buy BTC, revalue gold to market price, and sell a portion of fund BTC purchases. So what they're saying is, I think the current stockpile of gold is only valued on the books at like $40 or $50 an ounce. And I think Bitcoin's price is above, I haven't checked it. Gold prices is up above 2,500. I don't even know, might be close to 3,000, whatever it is. It's a far cry. So just updating that, I think, puts $1 trillion on the books. And so they could take half of that, take 500 billion and throw it in, buy Bitcoin with it. That would also, talk about economic warfare, collapse the gold market. So all of our non-US, all the other sovereign nations that are holding gold, their gold supply would plummet in value because it would be a glut on the market. They would be introducing a lot more supply. What happens when you have too much supply? Price drops. Okay, so by America dumping a significant portion of gold could really, crash the gold market, and then that would pump everybody's bags, including the U.S. government, as they're buying Bitcoin, so they could buy at a low price. And then that would also make it more expensive for all these other nations to get into Bitcoin. So as they saw the inevitable, the U.S. government's accumulating Bitcoin, and they said, we got to get in. There's a run on the Bitcoin bank, you could say. Now everybody's trying to buy Bitcoin. So that's good for the U.S. government. All right, moving forward, use tariff revenue, like ASIC import fees to acquire Bitcoin. Yep, all the tariffs that can go for it. Mine Bitcoin using wasted energy or subsidize such mining operations. Yep. U.S. government could start spinning up a bunch of nuclear powerhouses. There's so many ways the U.S. government could get into energy, and really is in energy. Implement a crypto trading tax to fund BTC reserve. So yeah, there's a lot of good ways the U.S. government can pull these levers. This is all great. So mainly what I wanted to say on this show is y'all need to go watch the Howard Lutnick All In podcast and really see who's at the front of this economy and who's at the front of this Trump administration getting shit done, who's working with Elon. It gets you, he talks about how they elected this cabinet, the caliber of men. They're claiming this is the most gifted cabinet in the history of cabinets. So that's a big statement. And I've heard many times, like even from Elon and some of the other guys, that room is the most talented room I've ever been in. That is the most mentally capable, aggressive leadership, whose business is going to get in here and turn this country around room. And so, man, if let's just say all that's true, that is great news if they are truly going to make America great again. And here's the biggest thing I got out of this. If this happens, shout out to Gabriel Murillo. If this happens, Lutnick only agreed to help Trump under one condition. Now this is a Democrat from New York. This is a New York Democrat that supported Hillary Clinton. The Obamas wrote big checks to the Democratic Party, and is made fun of by many Republicans for supporting Hillary and stuff. So he is a New York Democrat that Trump recruited and said, you have to help me build this nation back. He says, okay, I'll do it under one condition. So this is a lot of New York people they're fiscally conservative, and they're what do they call it? Culturally liberal. That culture is not the right word. I can't believe I'm forgetting this word. But anyway, when it comes to socially, they're socially liberal, but they're fiscally conservative. And so this is one of those guys. So he's, wants to help everybody, lift everybody up, help the common man, help the unions, all that kind of stuff. He's a New Yorker. So he says, Trump, I will help you rebuild this nation under one condition, that if I can save you $1 trillion, if I can get Elon to save you $1 trillion due to the country, what he just did to X, and if I can go make you $1 trillion due to tariffs, and I'll figure out how to do it, then you have to have zero income tax for everybody in this country that makes under $150,000 a year. That's a massive chunk of this nation. This would be the biggest win for the middle class since the middle class landed here. Well, maybe there were some better times in the early days, but when they're fighting all the no infrastructure and just raw land and trying to build it. Anyway, man, can you imagine? Nobody pays income tax if you make under $150,000 a year. This would be a huge. Then how much tax money would tax savings, since you don't get any taxes taken out of your paycheck at that point? Or I don't know how they're going to roll it out, but anyway, you get a huge tax savings. And how many of us bitch about? Well, sorry, I've never had a job, but I hear all of you bitching about, look at all the tax money that comes out of my paycheck. Delete for most of us. delete. That's going to be a huge savings. And I can tell you what Bitcoiners will do with every freaking penny that we get out of this deal. If we're able to make more money, because US businesses, now I'm talking to my Bitcoiners. So if you are a Bitcoiner and you have a business, or you get tax savings, or things grow, or you get more money, let me just clue you in what every Bitcoiner does. We smash buy, we stack sats, we, anything that's not nailed down or working in our business and inventory and payrolls and stuff like that, it's going in Bitcoin, 100%. I ain't talking about a fraction. I'm talking all of it. There are a lot of Bitcoiners. This is how they operate. They don't have hardly any fiat. They don't touch fiat. If that capital's not working in the business, it's in Bitcoin. That's my strategic reserve. That's where all my savings is going. I better have a really good business idea, because that sucker's growing at 60% a year. So whatever your idea is, it needs to guarantee at least 65% a year. And and then I don't know how risky this thing you're suggesting is that can grow so fast. So Bitcoiners, let me tell you, they're stacking sats. You give them a tax break, they're going to buy more Bitcoin. You grow their business, they're going to buy more Bitcoin. You give them opportunity in this nation and they're able to make more money, they're going to buy more Bitcoin. That's the default response for every Bitcoiner that I meet at most of these meetups. If you say, hey, what do you do with your extra cash? What do you mean? There is no extra cash. It's all in Bitcoin. If I get a birthday present and it's cash, I convert it to Bitcoin. And so this is the culture of the Bitcoin movement. They understand that this is not just a transition, it's a disruption. It's a disruption as in, whale oil was disrupted by the light bulb electricity. Electricity gave birth to everything, literally everything. The internet gave birth to everything. It launched the information age. It changed the way we communicate. It changed the people we can influence and do business with. Bitcoin itself exists because of the internet, text messages, these videos, how we consume media, how many people can get into media, how many people can survive off of media. Bitcoin is just starting. It is just starting. Everything that you see built on top of the internet. Remember when the internet first came out, you could send email. How far have we come since we can just use internet for email? How far have we come? What else can we do? Somebody please out there describe for me all the new things since email that the internet can do. Bitcoin's the same way. It literally is not understood by almost everyone on earth. I go to these Bitcoin developers and I talk to a few of them, and they're still discovering its potential, its possibility, its strengths and weaknesses. And economists like Saifedean and Booth and Lynn Alden and all the economists that study Bitcoin are constantly discovering how this will impact all economies, how we trade amongst each other, the drag it pulls out of the system. It's a much more efficient, robust system that can't be cheated and hacked. And remember, all of us are growing our economies. All of us are growing our economies with so many leeches on our back, trying to slow us down. We're basically sprinting with not 50-pound weights, but like maybe 51-pound weights. And that's all the drag in the system, because every time you make a dollar, somebody wants a penny of that dollar, or 2 pennies of that dollar, or a nickel of that dollar, or dime of that dollar. And by the time everybody finishes taking all their shit off of you because of some crooked law or crooked government or inflation or some stupid drag on the system or theft, then you're left with like 42 cents to go, woohoo, you made 42 cents. You really made a dollar, but then these thieves came and took whatever, 68 cents, 58 cents. Well, on the Bitcoin system, delete on all that. You make a Bitcoin's a Bitcoin. It's equal to a Bitcoin. When can you ship it? Anytime, to whoever. It's permissionless. It just goes. And it charges the most, a fraction, the security cost just for the mining fees. It's nothing compared to the drag and the wait time and the 3 days and the 3 months to verify, and final settlement doesn't happen forever, and the theft that's constantly going on all of our our banking systems and all of our transactions. And Bitcoin just solves all that. And it creates a global currency that people can trade, buy goods and services from each other across border without a third party getting involved, without counterparty risk. And now you're adopting this. I mean, literally, it was crowned by Trump and David Sachs and this crew here as the king. It is the new apex. It's the new king. When the U.S. government's basically saying, we're not selling any of our shit and we're going to figure out ways to buy more. And here's a whole list of ways that you can buy more. And this is the biggest checkbook of checkbooks. This is the checkbook that writes and makes checkbooks. This is the checkbook that makes banks. This is the checkbook that enslaves nations. And this is the checkbook. The U.S. government is figuring out ways to buy Bitcoin and they're not selling any. If you want to know if it's a time to be bullish, it's when the U.S. government says, we'd like to buy. What business on planet Earth isn't celebrating when they get that email that says your bid was accepted from the U.S. government? That's usually a pretty good news for any business. Well, Bitcoin, your bid was accepted. You are now, we're going to consider you our apex asset. We're going to put you in a strategic reserve and we're going to put on it cannot be sold. And we're going to try to pass this somehow into Congress. And actually, the great state of, hold on, let me pull this up. This is big news. I really can't have a show without. Let me just, patience, Danielson. Okay, here we go. Somebody sent me this. I'm always getting, by the way, I love that y'all keep sending me stuff. So you want me to read anything on this podcast, please send it to me. Here we go. Just in from Simply Bitcoin, just in, Oklahoma House passes Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Bill HB 1203, voted 77-15 in favor. Hallelujah. Go Oklahoma. Shout out to Darren. Love you, man. Holy shit. Oklahoma is now holding Bitcoin as a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Okay. Oh, let me go ahead and shut that down. All right. So that's great news. We have a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Oklahoma. I think they took the gold medal. Is that the first state to do it? I'm pretty sure it is. But if I'm not, they're one of the top few. And now, how long? Put in the comments, who's going to be your next 3 states? I'm going to vote for Louisiana. Come on, Louisiana. You got this. We got some of the strongest Bitcoin laws in all the United States. I'm rooting for Louisiana to be the next guy up there. So, all right. Anyway, that's my news for the day. Please go watch Jack Mahler's. You should watch his channel every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Really good 1 hour of content. And especially if you're lacking in the finance department, you need to listen to guys like him so that you can constantly be getting better. Anything written by Jeff Booth, anything written by any video by Michael Saylor, I recommend. Lynn Alden, fantastic. Of course, His Majesty Saifuddin Hamus, thank you for all the work that you do. If you haven't read his book, The Bitcoin Standard, there's your Bible. Read that first. And then I'm trying to think, there are some others, Robert Breedlove as well. He's the one that I found a lot of these guys on. Shout out to who else? And the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of my Parks and Rec followers and people are like, don't know any of this stuff. So I'm trying to just give them some resources. I'll tell you quickly how to buy Bitcoin, just because I want to include that on every show, because I know a lot of people are new to Bitcoin that listen to this. Shout out to all my Parks and Rec people. All right, go into Strike, go into River, get an account there, connect it to your bank. That should be pretty simple, like everything else that you download and connect your bank. That's not going to be any different than getting an Amazon account or a Walmart account or anything else. So, except you're connecting your bank account. So once you do that, then you can, it might take a little back and forth, a little email verification. They do have to KYC you. So they're going to ask you some questions that a bank would ask. That's normal. Don't flip out. Strike, STRIKE, River. These are two that I recommend and use. They're Bitcoin only exchanges. They do dollar cost averaging, pretty well run companies. And I love Jack Mahler's everything he says. And the guys at River are stand up people. I've heard nothing but good stuff about them, and I use them. So I use both of those. Now, you did purchase Bitcoin, but you haven't taken custody of it. So just because you have it in your Strike account, you don't own it. Strike owns it. And until they send it to you, they own it. And any government that comes to attack Strike is going to take all their Bitcoin, yours included, if it's in their possession, which it will be until you take custody of it. How do you take custody? Well, you can go into your Strike account and it'll say send. You're going to send Bitcoin, and it's going to ask you to pull in a wallet address. So you need to get you a Bitcoin only wallet address, preferably a cold card. We will kneel before the holy cold card. I also use Trezor. Not even sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but so anyway, those are two cold wallets that you can use, and you basically buy those. It's a hardware device. So when I mean hardware, it's kind of like this watch is a hardware device. A calculator is a hardware device. So they're going to send you a Bitcoin wallet. It's a piece of plastic kind of computer chip kind of thing. It's going to come in the mail, and you're going to plug it in. You're going to set up, and they're going to give you 12-word seed phrase. I'll get into that later. Then you're going to be given a wallet address. That's the wallet address that you copy paste in Strike or River. Then you can send a test payment, maybe $50, maybe $100, just to test to make sure that it works. And I would recommend maybe even you send it back, practice a few times. Okay, now you're confirmed. I would actually recommend that you also go to your local Bitcoin meetup, befriend a couple of Bitcoin people, have them, to where you trust them, and maybe have them with you through this process, because sometimes it helps to have a resident Bitcoiner walk you through the steps if you're afraid to do it. I've done this for a lot of people. It was done for me when I got into Bitcoin. It's nothing out of the ordinary. If you want to maybe be a little more private and you want to just learn on your own, go to YouTube, type in BTC sessions, and he can explain all of this. You can type in how to get a River account, enter on his channel. He's got that. He's got Strike. He's got these hardware wallets. He's got seed phrases. Anything you could possibly want to know about the how-tos of how to buy Bitcoin, how to set up your wallet, how to send Bitcoin, software wallets, hardware wallets, all that kind of stuff. Cold wallets rather. That's all on there. So it's that simple. And it really is. And once you see it done, you're like, wow, that's a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. And now you have to start working on your operational security. So I'd say the most important thing you can do when you get into Bitcoin is to work on your education. You have to make a commitment to learn about Bitcoin. It's the most important thing you can do. I think it's more important than learning all this operational security. Because if you don't have conviction, you don't understand what you're looking at, you're just in it for a number go up. Who cares how much Bitcoin you buy? You're just going to sell it. You're going to panic sell it because it's going down, because maybe the US government says, no, we don't have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They sell all their Bitcoin. It plummets down to nothing. You're going to panic sell. You're going to panic sell. It is a wild ride roller coaster. And if you don't know what you're holding on to, you might go back to whale oil. Okay. You might sell your car and say, give me my horse back. But it doesn't change the fact that cars are here to stay. Electricity is here to stay. The internet's here to stay. AI is here to stay. And Bitcoin is here to stay. And it's not going anywhere. It's replacing an old legacy system. So it might go down temporarily because of some big black swan event, might go up temporarily because of a big black swan event, but it is volatile. It's a free market. There's traders. There's people trading on leverage. That's going to make this thing have wild swings, and it's going to shake you up, and it's going to spit you out, and it's going to, like Jack Mahler says, it's going to scare you out or wear you out. Love that phrase. So he's right. It will scare you out. It will wear you out. So stay humble, stack sats. You hear this all the time from people that have been in Bitcoin for a while, is that you need to stay humble and just keep stacking sats. It's just like working out. Stay humble. Keep doing your push-ups every day. That's how you get in shape. That's how you make a difference in your life. Consistency. You buy the hose, excuse me. You buy the lows, you don't buy the hose. You buy the lows, you buy the highs, and you buy everything in between. You buy the lows, you buy the highs, and you buy everything in between. And you buy all the time. You dollar cost average in. And if you get any extra money, you smash buy. That's my recommendation on the proper allocation that you should have for Bitcoin. And why can I tell you this? Because it's a commodity, because it's not a security, because I don't have any real control over Bitcoin. And I don't have a bunch of control over Bitcoin that I can get you in and then pull the bag out or change the code in my favor or issue myself some my own tokens, because it's a commodity. It's an asset without an issuer. It's an asset without an issuer. If there's an issuer, someone that issues you stock, okay, then that's not a security. I mean, that's not a commodity. That's a security. Okay, and now you got to play along with Tesla and Apple and all the other publicly traded companies. You got to play by their rules and all this kind of stuff, and it can be manipulated, or the team that leads this organization could just screw up, or they could get in a plane wreck and all die, and they lose their key men that's running the show, and the thing crashes down, and there goes all your money. But gold, silver, Bitcoin, oranges, steel, copper, commodities are commodities. They're an asset without an issuer. And Bitcoin is the only digital asset without an issuer. That's a commodity. And that's big news. So commodity markets are going to figure this out. People are going to figure this out, that if you're trading in commodities, they're all coming this way, because there's a new king in town that was just coronated by Donald Trump and the U.S. government. We now have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and you should be buying it. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close it out at 41 minutes and 53 seconds. Thank you all for listening to my rant after rant after rant. Please go watch that All In podcast with Howard Lutnick. I did not know who that guy was until I watched that. Shows you how unplugged I am from actually anything but Bitcoin and the daily Parks and Rec show. Please tune in if you want to know more about Parks and Rec every day on all of my social media platforms, 12 noon Eastern, to learn about the industry of Parks and Recreation. If you're here from Parks and Recreation, welcome to my Bitcoin family. These family members could not be more different. They're like bookends: municipal government, Bitcoiners. They're typically far along, but I'm trying to pull them together, because Bitcoin is for everybody and the park system is for everybody. And so y'all actually have more in common than y'all think. And I've actually got a lot of Bitcoiners that are Parks and Rec people coming in. Shout out to Peter, a couple others, Shonda, that I know are coming in. Appreciate y'all coming into Bitcoin. And let's try to get the rest of the Parks and Rec family into the Bitcoin movement and figure out a way for maybe the park systems or city government to start storing it on the balance sheet, now that we've got a U.S. state in Oklahoma, the federal government itself, many other great states. And there actually are some cities out there that are now holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet, that are actually mining Bitcoin. And so Parks and Rec people will somehow be influenced by Bitcoin if their cities start to own it and hold it as a treasury reserve asset, like a lot of smart business people are doing. So hopefully I can play my part in that. I am signing off now. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. Love you guys. I will see y'all. Oh, last thing, Thursday, I'm going to be on G Money's show, radio show. I think around 6:30. And then we still have this 8:00 show for a continuation of Morgan Stewart's. He has like a 4-part series that me and him are doing together. So we're going to do part 2 this coming Thursday. And don't forget my show right before that with G Money. Love you guys. See y'all here tomorrow, 9 p.m.
Inflation is stealing your purchasing power, but what if there was a way to fight back? Enter Bitcoin, the digital currency that empowers you to take control of your wealth. Ever wondered why your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to? At the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, we educate, inform, and inspire. From expert interviews to breaking news, we bring you everything you need to stay ahead in the Bitcoin community. Market updates, expert insights, real-world use cases, and practical tips to navigate the Bitcoin economy. So whether you're a seasoned Bitcoin investor or just getting started, this is your daily dose of Bitcoin wisdom. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and let's break free from the chains of inflation, one Bitcoin at a time. The Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your gateway to financial freedom.